Alrighty, so hopefully you came up with something that worked. Not a big deal if you didn't. We can see here in the before folder, we have just pretty much empty main HTML. There's no write-up except for our scripts that we're importing. Actually, we don't even have to use split type. Yeah, we don't need that. We need the other three though. We have the smooth scroll as always anyhow, which really helps to assist in these scrub-based animations. So what we're gonna do is focus on the HTML first. And just to give us some room to scroll, we're gonna have an empty section like usual. We're gonna have a section with a class of content, and that's where our main markup will go, and then another empty section thereafter. After that, we're gonna have a container which will act as a grid. And we're gonna have three different elements because we have three cards. So we're gonna put the first one in an aside, and we're gonna give that a class of para, as in parallax or whatever. And also a data-speed custom data attribute, and we're gonna put -30 here. Inside of aside, we're also gonna have our H1 element. This is the yellow card that spans 2 rows and 1 column. And we're gonna put fan-freaking-tastic, whatever that means. It means fantastic. Okay, and then we're gonna have a call to action button as in the Figma layout. And it has a class of CTA, and we're gonna say go bonkers. And outside of that, we're then gonna have a div class. We're gonna name it top. So top, and we're also gonna add another class to it called para, because we're gonna use this para class right here to target which elements that we're gonna iterate over in order to change the Y% value. So there's just gonna be 3 cards, so there's gonna be 3 classes of para. We're also adding top so that we can reference this in CSS. So inside of there, we're gonna have just an H3, and it says realize this might be it. And then we'll just copy this and paste this because it's very similar, except we're changing this to bottom. This is the bottom right card. We do also need a data-speed here and here. This value, I'm using -40, and then this one is just gonna be a positive value of 30. And then finally, the type in the final card's H3 element is going to be, it's your time to shine. So that's all the markup we need for HTML, fairly straightforward. Make sure you are watching with live server. This is what we currently have because our CSS file is empty. So as always, I'm not gonna sit there and type out each of the rule sets. I'm gonna paste them in. Very simple here. Font family is Bayan, which is already imported here in the index.html head section. We also are going to specify section height, 100 viewport height, and also section content, display grid, place content center. So all that does is inside of this element right here, it takes this single element that's nested within it and just centers it vertically and horizontally. After that, we're gonna go ahead and specify our container markup, which has a bunch of nested elements as well through Sass. So here's what that looks like. It's quite lengthy, but as you can see, we're targeting specifically the container element right here, and we're display grid. We're setting up grid template columns, so 2 columns, 2 rows, but then we're gonna use the grid template areas to specify for the 2 rows on the first column, they're both gonna be yellow, yellow, okay? You can name these whatever you want. I just decided to name them colors, but that is gonna help us define the structure of those columns, because if you remember, if we go back to our Figma document, this one spans 2 rows, so we're saying yellow, yellow. And then we'll target those elements specifically, especially the first one with grid area, yellow, and then background color, yellow. All right, so outside of that, I'll let you look at this stuff as you wish. It's just random stuff here that has to do with structuring the layout. We're selecting all elements here and just giving it the border treatment and all that good stuff, the box shadow, H1 element, the H3 element, and our aside. Yeah, down here. Everything else here is pretty, self-explanatory. So now we're gonna go ahead and switch gears. Make sure you save that, by the way. So if we take a look at what is happening, this is what it should look like. Okay, so now let's go to our JavaScript. And what we're gonna do is, again, we've done all this stuff before. There should be nothing new here. We're going to create a constant called section equals document.query selector. And we're gonna select just our content section right here. And we're going to use that. Actually, you know what? I decided I wasn't using that. So we're going to delete that. All right. All we need really is just to define one constant, and that's going to be the cards. So I'm calling those three things cards. So we're going to say gsap utils to array, and we're going to grab para. Now remember, that is right here, here, and here for each of the card as a class. Now what we'll do is we're going to iterate over those with for each. All right, and in there, we're going to get the speed. And in fact, it's telling us what that would be already. Const speed equals card data set speed. We've done this before. So just hit tab if you're using GitHub Copilot, which is what that feature allows. All right, so now that we have the speed for each card, there we go. We're going to say gsap from card, and then we're going to say y% is going to be, we're going to put negative speed, and then just multiply the value by 2. We could just get rid of this multiplication and just double these. It's up to you. I realized I wanted to have higher, so that's a quick fix. E is none because we're using scrub-based animation. And then we do our scroll trigger. So here, we're going to say trigger is the card itself. I was going to make the trigger content itself, which you could do, this content element. But I decided to stick with each card. And then we're going to say start is going to be top, bottom. And then the end is going to be bottom, bottom. And I played with those values, and that's the type of animation that I like the most. Finally, scrub true. And guess what? This should work as long as I typed everything out correctly. So let's scroll down. And there you go. Just a real quick, easy, simple sort of design and layout here. Very, very cool. Hopefully you came up with something interesting. And so now we're going to switch focus now onto something entirely different as we've been kind of beating the dead horse, so to speak, when it comes to these scrub-based parallax animations. So now let's go ahead and do something entirely different.